Hey everybody, welcome back to the Max Frequency Podcast, episode, I don't know what number this is, 4, 3, it's in there. Anyway, this time, I've got my buddy Roger Pokorny with me. Hi,
Hello.
Roger.
Hello, nice to be on the Max Frequency Podcast. Great name, by the way, great name.
Thank you. Naming things is always the hardest, you know?
Yeah, but this is a home run, for sure.
And the naming the website, and then I was like, I need a name for the podcast. And I had a list of all these different ideas.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is too much work. I'm just going to name it the Max Frequency Podcast. Because that's
Give me
what
some
it
of the other
is.
names, though. Give me some of the other names. What were they?
Let's pull out the notes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, Roger, I've had a lot of podcast ideas over the years.
Sure.
And you just have these notes, and you're like, these would be great. Let's see,
Yeah.
podcast ideas. I remember an old, I think one was like Game Cake. I don't know. I've had meeting in the middle. Yeah, dude, I had weird stuff. Meeting in the middle. Let's see, meeting halfway.
All right,
What
that sounds like a
else?
mediation, you know what I mean? Like you have a beef with somebody. You got
Yeah.
That's a good idea for a podcast, though. Bring together like your childhood bullies and being like, "Hey, we gotta meet in the middle."
That sounds traumatizing.
Oh, that sounds like a good time. Hey, remember that time you pushed me? I started crying in front of the girl I liked. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Let's meet in the middle.
That was super. I had one penultimax because penultimate's my favorite word, and I was
Sure.
like, I don't know, sure, it sounded really bad. Just like stuff you really don't want in your life.
Yeah, imagine having to explain. Like, what's the name of your podcast?
How do you spell that? Look this up in your podcast player of choice.
Yeah.
And you spell it like this, and uppercase letter here in the middle or whatever.
Jeez.
You, sir,
Yeah.
I wrote in my document, kind of funny video man. Is that what's your official job title?
No, I mean it's pretty much right. Like it's kind of funny. The video content producer. That's what Tim and I came to the conclusion of. We were going through a bunch of different names, and I feel like that was the one that sounded most official and most vague. Which I feel like is always most vague, but also when you look at it on a resume, you're like, oh, it sounds official. You know what I mean?
So you can fill in the blanks, and it'll line up with that job role.
Exactly.
You can say, I did this, and this, and that all sounds like something a producer may do.
Yeah, exactly. And editing is also part of that technically, so it's like it has some leeway with it. But yeah, that's a video content producer. Kind of funny.
And you started that this year, right?
Yes,
I'm
I started
blanking
in November, actually. Before we announced it. We announced it in January. I was working there since November 2nd, I believe.
So how did that go? You've got 2 months there where you're secretly working at Kind of Funny. Like, what was that like?
Those 2 months were, I wouldn't say rough, because I mean it's always exciting and fun, but it was rough in terms of like, first of all, I have Fortnite open, which I should probably close in the background. So I was getting in a few Victory Royales before this podcast.
That's smart.
Yeah. So when we started it, and I was doing a lot of social videos, and the videos were very different than the things we were doing that Kind of Funny was doing before I joined. So I immediately, the Kind of Funny Best Friend community is very on top of things, right? So like as soon as we started putting up these videos of like edits or just funny things going up in terms of like video editing, they were like, wow, Andy's really stepping it up, or Barrett, you're really stepping it up or something. And it was just like, and then like none of them could say anything. Like they were just like all ignoring these comments. And I always, of course, wanted to retweet it and be like, this is great and everything. But I couldn't do any of that. So it was fun. And then we eventually settled upon, I think in December, we started saying that I was freelancing just for the next gen consoles and things like that. So then we can say that, I'm also helping out with this. So that's Roger's doing. But yeah, no, it was interesting in those first few months, seeing people respond to things and saying things were good, or even some negative comments, and I couldn't respond to it at all, which was kind of its own hell in and of itself.
I think that's actually really cool that people not only could tell that there was something different in the product, whether it was better or worse.
Yeah.
Besides, it's like clearly your style and your editing comes through the videos immediately, and the community is full of a bunch of detectives and people that may have too much time on their hands, and they can just speak. They can they can infer. I mean, I used to be like that in a way. The way that someone would talk about a certain product or not talk about it, and you're reading between the lines and just getting all blah, 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 blah. This is clearly he means this, and you've got your red strain and your cork board, and you're figuring it out, and then
100%.
2 weeks later, the embargo lifts, and it's nothing like what you thought.
Yeah. But some people guessed it. I mean, of course, it's very easy. In my head, it was pretty easy. But they were like, I think when the Kind of Funny, like the January anniversary event was about to happen, I tweeted something like, "Oh, I'm excited to see what they do." Maybe people were like, "Roger Pokorny getting hired at Kind of Funny," and I thought it was in my best interest to be like, "I wish, guys," and then immediately people started responding, being like, "That's what they always say. That's what they always say. Ugh, it's clearly he's doing it." And I was just like, "Oh my god, guys, come on, let me have this." You know what I mean? Like, let me have this element of surprise. Pretend that you don't know. I guess I don't think I was being that obvious, but maybe I was. I probably was.
I was surprised and not surprised.
Yeah, sure.
Because they should have hired you ages ago.
Well, I appreciate you saying
and
that.
Honestly, both myself and Logan Moore, we both were talking about the hire because you're our friend and we're excited for you. And we were just amazed that no one had hired you before because you've done stuff for Borderlands and you were doing stuff with Retro Replay and Nolan North and stuff. Like, Roger, how were you not hired before?
It was interesting because honestly, and I'm not gonna say specifics, but like things were happening right before I got hired at Kind of Funny. Like I was getting like really close to like offers and things like that from different companies. It was really kind of a beautiful moment because like this is the thing, and you definitely know this. I mean, as someone that has done freelance in the past, freelancing is very when it rains it pours, right? Like, and when you have nothing going on, you have nothing going on. And that's kind of what was happening for me for a long period of time. I had like almost nothing going on. I had to live with like, okay, like what do I do outside of work? Like, what is my purpose? Like I have to be okay with like not working sometimes. And that's like tough for me because I always feel I have the capitalism brain in my head where I'm like, I gotta be, worth equals, working equals worth and things like that, which is just not a healthy thing to have. And I still have that a little bit. But so I was having long periods of droughts of like not having a lot of work to do. But then out of nowhere, a ton of work started coming in and really great work from people that I enjoy. I started working with freelance for Achievement Hunter for a little bit, which was really amazing. So like there was a lot of great opportunities happening all at once. And then Kind of Funny offered me the job. So that was a really, really great moment. It was a moment that we've been talking about for years, ever since I was like almost like 17. 16, we've been talking about it like somewhat jokingly in the beginning, but then it got a little bit more serious as time went on. And with pandemic times and January 4th coming up pretty fast, we were like, they were like, what, let's I think this might be the best move. So I'm eternally blessed for that, and I'm blessed for all the opportunities that I've had in the past. And I'm glad that it took some people for surprise at least.
What was that conversation like? Does Greg just slide in your DMs and go, "Yo, want a job?"
Yeah. No, it's a little bit.
Or is it more official than that?
No, it's less official, if anything. I mean, it's I feel like that's even more official, like having it in writing. Like it was mostly through Tim, and him and I call each other a lot. He's a very phone heavy guy. He calls people. And
I like that. I would actually never have pegged that for Tim. I've met Tim once, and I would not have thought him as a call people guy.
Yeah, no, he actually is. Like he calls a ton of people. He calls you about anything. You know what I mean? Like not everything, but like if something's happening, like he'd much rather call you up and ask you, instead of texting it to you. Which it's kind of a dying art form. It's something that I'm not really particularly the best at. I don't like calling people, but it's nice to get a Tim Geddes phone call here and there. But him and I were talking about. We're originally working on some projects before, and also we actually was working on some Borderlands shows and things like that. So him and I were always in contact. But then the time came where I was getting an offer or two, and then I mentioned it to him, and we're like, okay, like I think it's time for you to come on the team. You know what I mean? Like he was like basically like I would much rather you be here, and I think that you would much rather be here, and I think we can make it happen.
He wanted to snatch you up before you were off the market.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, which is very, very sweet. And him and I talked about it in detail, and we kind of figured it out. But it was more of us trying to figure out what is best for both of us, and it was kind of like
Yeah.
it wasn't like, hey, here's a job offer immediately. It was like, okay, let me think about things. Like, it was a lot of those conversations of us breaking away, like having the conversation, trying to figure out what to do, and then breaking away for maybe a day, and then coming back, and then having a little bit more of that puzzle figured out, and then breaking up and coming back again. So it was a process, but it was great. Yeah, no, it's it was. I think it's you'd be surprised how professional Kind of Funny gets. I think that we have a great way of pretending that we're not very professional, but the back end of everything and the way that we do business is rather professional, which is something that I was a little bit surprised about.
It has to be.
Yeah,
it would have to be on. I would think the scale of just the content that you produce and cover, and the companies that you work with. Like the whole crew really does put off this dumpster truck semi. I feel like unprofessional is too harsh, but what does Greg always say? Just it is a bunch of best friends goofing around and just doing stuff. But on the back, I mean, you got to run that like clockwork. There's got to be stuff has to be done, deals have to be made, things have to be produced on time. You can't just. I would have actually really been surprised if it was just a, hey, you want to work here, because that's not professional.
Yeah, no,
for that kind of scale.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting because it's the aura that we give off, and also I think it's also just because the content we create and the way that we create it, it's very very fast and loose sometimes. But when it comes to business, when it comes to like the way that we upload videos and the way that we segment things, like everything is a place for everything. And it's interesting as someone that hasn't just been on the outside looking in, or even when I was freelancing, it was very much like, I didn't have to do metadata for any videos. Like I didn't have to upload them. I would just send it to Tim, and then he would do all that work for me basically when I would do a video. And I didn't really know how any of that worked. So it's interesting to see it like in the first hand point of view. And I'm almost coming up on 6 months working at the company, which is wild.
Holy smokes.
I know, right? It's since our November, I think that's how time works. Almost there. It's been almost a year, half a year, and I'm learning a lot in terms of like the way things are done and how to keep things orderly, and how this garbage truck on fire, quote unquote, is able to keep on running in a smooth and orderly way.
What is it? I'm honestly super curious about working remotely. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, but you live in New York.
Yeah.
And they're out obviously in San Francisco. And COVID made working from home really a normal for a lot of people. I mean, freelance working from home can be and typically is the default. Like that's what I've done, it's what you've done. You work remotely. That's how it works. But you're doing it full time. I mean, you put videos out, or the Kind of Funny when I say that. Puts videos out every day. I don't know your specific upload and edit schedule for everything, but like, would you, if COVID wasn't necessarily a thing, would you have had to move out to California, or would you have stayed? Like, would this have been the norm, or did the circumstances of the world make this the norm for you? Yeah,
it's definitely the circumstances of the world. It's interesting because Tim and I, I mean, they rhyme, right? Tim. Tim and I have had this conversation for years now, almost, of like, it's definitely like the back end of everything. Like, I can edit videos fine from home. Like, I have high speed internet, I have great computer, like I can totally do it. Like, that's not the issue. It's the issue of, if you could even call it that, of just, team building and just being there with people. And that's a completely different.
The serendipity of like being in person and bouncing ideas off each other.
100%.
I think in a creative environment, which specifically is what you all do, I think that can be a key factor in that type of work.
Yeah, and it's something that I think that Tim has, and the whole team has been. I shouldn't just call out Tim. Tim is mostly the person I go to when it comes to business stuff.
Right.
I should say that. But the whole team I know is just they thrive off of, and we thrive off of like that environment of being with creative people and doing creative things in person. So I know that that's always been a a kind of like, hey, like if we want to bring you on, like you're gonna have to move to San Francisco, and this has been the first time where it's been like, hey, like maybe you could stay here during the pandemic and maybe like possibly afterwards. So like I know they're still figuring out that model of like
right, because
what it's gonna be.
Close? Yeah, they closed the studio. You don't have to tell me. I don't know if they've kept whatever that third space they were going to move into a bigger studio anyway, but I do remember when they turned the light off at the studio above the comic shop.
Yeah, and they do have another studio that they're trying to build out, and that's
I remember that was a goal, a plan a year ago, or
and it's still the
something.
plan. It's for sure still is the plan. It's just timing and COVID and all that stuff. So it's like,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's but it's interesting though because it's I feel like COVID has kind of like it's definitely changed the world, and it's changed the way that we look at work and necessity of like who needs to be in the office, who doesn't need to be in the office, and that's something that I know that like we have a very open relationship at Kind of Funny, and I've been able to talk with Tim about possibly do I have to be in the office all the time, like can I be remote, like, and we're still kind of all figuring that out together, and that's what I like about Kind of Funny is that like it is this open and honest, like if we can kind of all figure this out together. And I really appreciate that, honestly, because like I know my mom, like she's working from home, she works in the banking sector, and that's very extraordinarily rigid, right? Like it's all top down, like hey, like whatever they say goes, and so it's nice to have like that in the household, at least like have that like dichotomy of I can go to my bosses and be completely honest, and we can figure it out from there. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's definitely I would say not the easiest in the world, like working from home for sure, especially in a creative field, and especially in a creative field that I haven't like, I'm friends with everyone on the team, but I haven't like, been in person with them a lot. Right. So it's tough for like team building and everything like that. So yeah,
I would think just the size of the files that you have to deal with.
Oh, that's
would also part. Be really? Is your internet that great?
I have gigabit internet. Don't worry about that. Come on.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so jealous because I picture that content and downloading on my internet connection, which is like maybe 300 megabits on a good day, and I think of my work connection because I have to go through a VPN for my job, and it just slows to a crawl. And so I put my internet on your situation and think it's miserable, but apparently you have great internet. So.
Yeah, that's the only. I shouldn't say the only. Sorry, that's definitely not the only positive, but it is a very, very big positive. I have a very fast internet. Everything's great on that end. Okay, I think nice. the if anything, the negative for me is just socially, right? Like I'm right. Yeah, just that's pretty much the thing that is the biggest downfall, I feel like, from working from home, for me at least, because I'm working with such amazing people, right? I'm working with people that I love, that I want to learn from, that I want to just hang out with. So it's tough to be like, oh, we can't do that at all, and I'm like in the other side of the country and everything like that. So so
the 3-hour difference, really?
No, the 3-hour difference is fine. I mean, I'm mostly on. I feel like this is pretentious to say it, but I'm like. I'm on West Coast time right now. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I've been working with people on the West Coast for years. To me, it's I get it. It's second nature.
For sure.
Yep. We just hired a new team member, and he sent a text message one morning to me and my boss, who is in California. His computer. Disconnected from it. His internet went out just for a bit, and he texts me and my boss at 8:00 in the morning our time, which is 5 a.m. for my boss. And I was like, I didn't tell him this. Probably should have just been like, hey, if your internet goes out, you don't need to text the boss, man. Especially at 5 a.m.
Oh boy.
It's okay. Honestly, my boss is up probably 5:36 anyway, his time, so I just try not to wake California people up if I don't have to.
Sure.
It's always a
I had I remember when I started, because I've been doing this for a long time too, like in terms of like working with, I remember I was like 17, and I was calling. I remember a video wouldn't go up for like a freelance, and I ended up calling him, and it was very early. Like it was like 5 a.m. and like he was like had the groggy voice and everything. I was like, oh, I'm never doing this again. I feel so bad. Completely forgot about that. So that was a lesson learned. It's something.
You haven't been up for 3 hours doing this and drinking cups of coffee. Do you not feel the same level of stress I do?
Exactly. But that's like actually honestly like in terms of the working from home situation, like time difference and internet speeds are the least of my concern. Like which is nice because I feel like that's also sometimes a big factor in terms of people doing what I do and also just generally working from different coasts. I know time differences can really screw some people up.
Yeah. So one hurdle I do know in your job, because you complain about it all the time. I want to have an actual conversation with you about Adobe Premiere, because really I just give you a hard time about it anytime you tweet about it.
Which I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. And every time I tweet about it, I look out for the Max Roberts tweet. And I just, who was the last one you did? You did something where it was just like,
I just
like
eyes.
dot. Oh yeah. that was it. Which I appreciated.
Eyes.
I appreciate it. You kept it going without saying anything.
You know, at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So you work on obviously PC. Is it a PC you built or something? It's a beefy PC, right?
It's a very beefy PC. Yeah, it's a very beefy PC. That's part of the issue is that I've spent so much money on this freaking PC, and it's the same amount of jank that I've gotten on my crappy gaming laptop that I had earlier that I was running all my edits from. It's just frustrating.
So are you still on? So I don't know, maybe a month ago, you said you were switching from Premiere to Resolve. Are you still using Resolve? Or are you back in the Premiere boat?
I'm pretty much back in the Premiere boat. Sadly, it's just the problem is just because of After Effects. That workflow is just so nice, and I have not been able to find anything remotely as good, but I am slowly regressing backwards. And I shouldn't say backwards. I feel like it's forwards at this point to DaVinci. I can get into details. We want to get to the nerdy stuff.
I want to get into details because when I was a teenager, I was doing stuff in After Effects. I thought After Effects was just so cool. I could make little particles fly out of my fingers.
Yeah.
You know, very basic stuff. And so I have a very limited understanding of After Effects.
Sure.
And then Premiere I used a little bit in college because that's what our journalism program wanted us to use to make our videos and stuff. But for the most of my life, I've been using Final Cut. That's just what I had in high school and then used on my own personal computers and stuff. But why is Premiere so the standard when I see a lot of people, not just you, but other YouTube professionals complain about just the speed of the export. I can't tell you how many tweets I see about how nervous people get when they export in Premiere. I feel like exporting should be the least nervous time of the edit.
It totally should. I think, you know what? I think it honestly has to do with branding. I think branding is a huge part of this. And I think that the idea of the Creative Cloud and having all these apps run together, even though half the apps you're probably not going to use. Like I probably only a fraction of people that use Premiere probably only use After Effects. And then even more of a fraction of people have like a Photoshop, After Effects, like weird, the way that they're doing things. So like, I feel like it's just the branding of having everything under this unified umbrella that gets a lot of people in. And it's also like it's Adobe, right? Like everyone knows Adobe. Like, and I think that is also a big draw, is that people know this brand, people know this company, and even though it's extremely janky, when you actually get into the nuts and bolts of what this program does, like when you get into very basic edits, like it's pretty good. Like it's a pretty solid, like if you're cutting together 2 clips together, like it works perfect. Like whatever you need to do, and it has a very basic, like a very good learning curve. I feel like they have like those tabs that are very easy for you to kind of understand what's happening. And I've walked through a bunch of my friends, like a friend of mine, George. He had to edit a Super Smash Brothers Melee highlight video that he did for like a contest. and he had no idea what he was doing, and I walked him through it, and it was very simple, and you can kind of get your head around it really fast, more so than I feel like than a lot of other editing softwares that are supposed to be for the pro level. Like even DaVinci like has a really weird way of doing things. I also feel like Sony Vegas is just weird. So there's I feel like it's very simple in the early stages, but then once you start getting advanced with Premiere, it just breaks apart to the point where my favorite thing is when, first of all, in every project that I've ever had, there's always a new thing that breaks in Premiere. It's never an old thing. It's always a new thing. It's always something new. But then my favorite thing about that is then you look up that new thing that broke. Let's say it's a rendering issue or it's a clip that just won't go together for some reason. You Google that exact problem. People have those issues since 2010. Like, and that is the most frustrating thing about this, is that these same exact problems have been going on since 2010, and they don't address it. They make everything look pretty. They add like a closed captioning system, which is great, but then it's just broken in the core of it. And then they keep on adding these updates. Like they have these updates where it's like, okay, well now it's going to use your NVIDIA graphics card. It's going to have the fastest renders in the world. My renders are still taking like an hour plus, and I have 64 gigabytes of RAM. I have a NVIDIA, I have a NVIDIA GeForce 2080 Super. Like I have like I have some of the best stuff you can ever get, and then at least in this range of video editing. And this is the stuff that they recommend you get, and it still doesn't work well. So it's just ridiculous. And 4K, I can't even edit in 4K. Don't even get me started on that. So it's just a frustrating experience, because I want to love this software and I want to love Adobe After Effects and Premiere and all of it, but they just don't work. And it's frustrating when I'm at the point now where I'm editing things like I'm doing party mode now, which is youtube.com/kindafunnygames every Monday. You can watch party mode.
Little Greg came out in you there.
Yeah, little Greg came out. There's a little Greg in everybody. You know what I mean? Let's just think about it.
Quite frankly, there is.
So I'm editing that, and they're 3-hour streams, right? So they're beefy boys, but they're 1080p, they're 60 FPS, but still. So I can't scrub through the timeline in real speed at all, ever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Even half speed, I can't do it. Okay, that's weird. Fine, I'm gonna make a proxy that is 480p 30 FPS, and I attach the proxy. And when I start adding anything, it drops immediately. And I'm watching it 480p 1/4 the preview. So it's like whatever 1/4 of 480p is, I'm watching. That's how I'm editing. And it's ridiculous.
That sounds like unfeasible. Like how can you
Barely. I'm squinting the entire time. And that's the most upsetting thing, is that like, and then I go over to DaVinci, and DaVinci's fine. DaVinci is fine for like 1080p, 60 FPS, doesn't matter. Give it 3 seconds, it'll do an auto cache, perfect, it's done. And the upsetting thing is that DaVinci just doesn't have a great workflow for After Effects. So especially with the Blessing Show, it's almost unfeasible for me to edit in it. But I will say, I'm sorry if this is just a rant escapade going off all over the place, but like, I was editing the Blessing Show last week, and I was dealing with a lot of long plays, because it was on the Souls games, and Blessing didn't have time to record any gameplay for the game, and also just who has time to play 10 hours of Bloodborne or whatever. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna rip.
I know a few people.
Yeah, that is true. I could have had a few people. So I downloaded. I ripped like all of the Souls games you can imagine, just like the long plays of it, like 10 hours of it, 8 hours of it. And so these are like 23 gigabyte files. And, oh my gosh. But I would be editing it with it, and it'd be fine pretty much. Like I would put it in, and then there was just a point where Premiere just would not. It would not, like, and I had them in the timeline already edited, and I would start scrubbing, and it just would be like media loading, and they would just freeze every single time. And I was, by the way, this is the closest we've ever cut it with a Blessing Show episode. I needed it up the next day. It was, and I just, in the day before the video was supposed to go up, I was like, F this. And I took the entire thing and I threw it into DaVinci Resolve. I had to figure out a way to do it. There's a way to do it, but it's not that neat. I ended up doing it, and I had to figure out this weird way to get After Effects and whatever. It was just a whole nightmare, but that was way easier than me dealing with Premiere's crap. And it's kind of ridiculous that I have to use 2 different editing softwares
Right.
in order to cobble together a video that conceivably should be very, very simple in terms of like the planning that I put into it. So it's just a frustrating experience. And I do unironically, like for not talking memes, like I really do wish that I could use Final Cut. I feel like it's been very positive. Everything I've seen from people, I've seen MKBHD talk about it a million times. So like, and like seeing the fact that he's able to just scrub through on what I imagine, you know, these Apple fanboys. You know what I mean? Like they're running on the lowest spec things. You know what I mean? Like compared to my bad boy of a PC. Come on.
Yeah, no, he's I watched recently. What was it? He did a Skillshare thing. And it was the first time I ever signed up for a trial of Skillshare. And in that video, in that course, he showed his editing process, which, you know, I think to get behind the, you know, to see how people do things is fascinating. And especially someone I watch all the time. And so Roger, first of all, he's filthy rich and has the best of the best, which he should. He makes the best tech videos on the internet, I think. It justifies it. He makes the money. He's got the top Mac Pro. He's got two of those 6K displays. And Roger, I've seen those displays in person. They're gorgeous. They are not worth $5,000.
I've heard differently though, which is interesting.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. To me, they're not worth it. If it is your job and color grading and editing and like that stuff, I absolutely think it's worth it every cent, especially when you compare it to the professional end, you know, $20,000, $30,000 screens. So
and those screens are ugly. Those screens are ugly looking. These screens are
I like the holes.
Those are
ugly. Yes.
Those ones. The Mac one looks beautiful.
Yes. Anyway, two of those displays all run by this computer. He's scrubbing through real-time 4K 30. It's beautiful. And I'll tell you this.
That's how it should be. And he's Final
I've
Cut,
never,
of course, right?
I've never, he uses Final Cut. I use Final Cut. I've never worried about an export. And so I want to ask though. So it sounds like After Effects is really kind of the thing keeping you in the Premiere land.
For sure.
And I'm asking this out of ignorance.
Yeah.
There's no way to just do what you need to do in After Effects and then export that / bring it into.
Yeah, there definitely is. It's just an extra step on top of it. And I think that I'm going to have to end up doing that extra step just because it's just not worth it, I feel like, anymore. Because, so the whole thing is that with Premiere, it's just literally a right click. You do attach a dynamic link or whatever. So then it just brings you to After Effects, and then you can do all your work in After Effects, press save. And if you have, like, let's say you have an issue with something, like I was editing something today where I had a bunch of moving hands that I was animating. And if, let's say, one of those hands comes in a little late or early, I can go right back into After Effects, move it, press save, and then it adapts into Premiere, like, seamlessly, which is great. And that's something that's great for me because I'm not the greatest at After Effects or anything like that, so I make mistakes a ton. So it's easy. It's great to have like that back and forth, but the only way for me to do it with DaVinci would be for me to export it fully, and then sometimes those exports take a while, and then if you notice a mistake, then you got to export it again. It's a bit of a gamble, but I did it for the Blessing show, and it was not that bad. It was not that big of a deal. So maybe I'm gonna start doing that. It's just annoying because this is how dedicated I am to like get away from this ecosystem. Is that I like am trying to learn like the Fusion, which is the like After Effects equivalent of DaVinci Resolve, which is also, by the way, I should add, built into DaVinci Resolve and free. Like, which is just like, okay, like, cool, great. But it's just like, do you know anything about nodes? Like, it's a node-based system, which is, which is annoying. It's like completely, not user-friendly. And for someone like me, who's very much of it is visual, but it's a different type of visual learner. It's tough for me to wrap my head around. I've watched a ton of tutorials. I've tried my hardest and I've gotten somewhere, but it takes me literally 5 seconds to do something in Premiere, which would take me literally 20 minutes in DaVinci Resolve when it comes to that stuff. So, yeah.
I feel like a part of that has to just be how long you've been using the Adobe products.
For sure.
And, I feel that way with anything. When I have to learn something new, it is, especially when I'm coming from an application where I have spent a lot of time, and then I'm moving to something new, and it's just, I'm like, but it's so much better this other way.
See, it's
but
interesting.
this other way keeps falling apart and breaking. I'm like,
Yeah.
but it's better.
That's exactly how I feel. It's a really bad relationship, but it's interesting because for me at least, the actual DaVinci, like going into I don't know if have you played around with DaVinci Resolve at all?
No, I've seen like its interface in videos, but I've never played with it.
It's not too dissimilar from Premiere at all. Like it's very similar, and you can also even go into the settings and change like to Premiere key commands. So in literally like I would say 5 hours from starting booting up DaVinci for the first time, I was rocking and rolling, and I was able to edit an entire video. So like it's not a bad translation. The issue is the Fusion page, which is supposed to be like its After Effects, looks nothing like After Effects, and like it's like so strange. Like it's so strange that they went for that like DaVinci is almost like, I shouldn't say copy, but it's definitely taking cues from Premiere and very other non-linear editing software. But then their After Effects side of things is just like, we're just gonna go off the deep end. We're going insane, and it's interesting that they did that. But I definitely know that if I put a lot of time into it, I could get the same results or similar results. It's just I don't think I have the energy as of now. I feel like maybe if this was like a few years ago, I would totally be down. But I think I'm like an old man at this point. I'm like, you know what? I know my thing.
That's how I feel.
I'm like I know it. I get it. I get it's probably better, but I'm just gonna stick with my old thing. And it's annoying because that old thing costs me like $35 a month. So
that's how I feel with something like TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I'm very much of the while it is true that it is a company in China, and specifically that app it has an incredible algorithm that just seems to really nail what people are interested in. It's incredible, but it's also just taking all of your information. And for the past few years, I've just been more conscious about what I'm willing to give tech companies. So I'm like the crazy old man that's like, don't install TikTok. It's taking stuff from you. And then Abby is like all over TikTok. I'm like, I tried.
Well, if she has TikTok, then that means you basically have TikTok. You know what I mean? You're screwed. Don't worry about it.
I know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I was a similar way. Like I remember when the Face app or whatever it was like, then the whole thing was like it would randomly like start like uploading things to the cloud. People were like, "Whoa, that's
the one from
weird."
Was that the Russia one?
Yeah, it was the Russia one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of those. There's a bunch of those. Like they all pop up, and then they're definitely stealing images and your faces and everything like that. So, but then I just started like I was very much like that for a while, and even like that in that stage, I also downloaded like LastPass and like was trying to be a lot more safe. LastPass sucks now. I mean, did you see?
Rip LastPass.
Yeah, rip LastPass.
I've been a 1Password happy 1Password subscriber for years now. I cannot imagine my life without a password manager.
Yeah, this is what's most frustrating is that I talk to so many people and like, what's my password? I'm like, just use this thing and take one day out of your life, and you will never have this problem ever again.
No joke. My sister-in-law.
Yeah.
She had her Facebook account broken into, which in and of itself, sure, whatever. She uses it for her business. She's like a fitness trainer.
Okay.
Anyway, same password for her bank account. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Thankfully, like her bank understood and gave her money, but like, it was all fine.
Oh, the person actually broke into her bank account as well.
Yeah, but they did the Facebook first. And then, once they had that, they had her email address, and they're like, well, let's try it everywhere. And they got into her bank. And it's just, how do you not, on the very least, understand that, like, your bank should have a different password, wildly different than your Facebook account? Like, come on.
It's so interesting because then also people, like I was at my aunt's house, and she's an older woman, and she doesn't really get like any of the stuff, but I was like, yeah, what's the password to your, I think it was her phone or whatever, and it was like a 4-digit number, and I was like, let me guess, this is the same as your bank account, right? Your PIN number? She was like, yep. I was like, let me guess, it's the same as every single other thing you do? Yep. Okay. Awesome. Like it's so hard because it's the I shouldn't say logical, but it's the first instinct, right? When you're like making these things, like, of course I'm going to make the same password. Like, who do I care? And then like, it's also like, one of those things that, like, I feel like identity theft, unless it happens to you, is so, like, far-fetched sometimes, where it's like, who cares
it's
about
definitely
me?
one of those things you never think's going to happen to me.
Exactly.
Or, I don't have anything to hide, or who wants to hack into my account, and then it happens, and your address and your phone number. Logan went to E3, was this 2 or 3 years ago, and all of the E3 information was just widely available online. Logan had to change his phone number.
Jesus.
And, like, I'm sure this happened to a lot more people on, like, more severe. Logan, at the time, was just at DualShockers, like, a managing editor.
Yeah.
He wasn't a prominent voice, I don't think Greg's information, but, Greg or Tim, like, you could have looked those people up and found emails and probably the business address, I would think. But, like, people's information was dumped.
The wildest one was, for me at least, I mean, of course, all of them were terrible.
Anyone.
But the wildest one for me was, do you know the YouTuber Girlfriend Reviews?
Yeah,
they were, that was before anyone knew their names. So their names, and everyone figured out who they were and everything, and then after that, they ended up, like, becoming more of, like, a focus, like, on camera stuff, and they were eventually going to do that, but it was just, like, it kind of, like, pushed them into, like, oh, like, now everyone knows, like, found my Facebook, like, everyone knows how I look, like, that's terrible.
That's so bad.
Yeah.
They make incredible stuff.
Oh my god, they're amazing.
Did you watch their April Fool's video?
Yeah, their donkey video, it's so good.
Oh my gosh. So Abby does not like Donkey. She can't stand his voice. So whenever I play a Donkey video on my phone or whatever, she goes, "Why is this man in our house?" I'm like, "Because he's awesome." So anyway, she does like Girlfriend Reviews, and one of her favorite games is Diddy Kong Racing. So on April Fool's Day, I said, "Abby, Girlfriend Reviews did a video for Diddy Kong Racing." She's like, "Really? Let's watch it." I put it on,
funny.
and Donkey came in, and she's like, "Why is this man talking?" I'm like, "It's Girlfriend Reviews."
Don't worry about it. Yeah, they just changed their voice. It's not Donkey. What are you talking about?
Don't you remember? This is what she sounds like every day.
That was a great video, and also just the poking fun at the formula of Girlfriend Reviews is great, like the whole office bits and everything. It's just fantastic.
Boyfriend. I have a boyfriend, and he is a gamer.
It's great. Yeah, no, that's a really fantastic channel. But it was just unfortunate when that happened. I was just like, oh boy, and God, I can't believe that it was just on an open form on, like, the homepage or whatever it was. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Can't wait for E3's information leak this year.
Yeah, and then just every single person that ever logged into the Twitch channel.
Anyone that registered, yeah.
And no, not even that. Like, somehow they just get every single person that's ever watched E3 on Twitch. It's just like, well, I don't know even know how you did that, but okay.
You watched this E3 video on YouTube from 2006? Here's where you live and your social security number.
It's just ridiculous. And the fact that like almost nothing happened to them because of that, like, is wild. It is so wild that it wasn't, like, even a bigger deal. I feel like people should still bring that up when the E3 conversation ever pops up. Like, I feel like that should be the first thing that comes up, because that's just it's just mind-boggling.
It kind of reminds me of I don't know if you were aware, a few years ago, I want to say 2018, Bloomberg posted an article called, like, The Big Hack or something, and basically this article implied that there were a bunch of, like, tiny microchips implanted on Apple, Amazon, Google servers around the world. Like, what? China was siphoning. Yeah, exactly. Oh. Something creepy and terrifying. Turns out, like, they had very few sources. No one corroborated it. Huh. All of the companies immediately came out and said, this is wildly untrue. We've, looked at, like, and they've never retracted or made a follow-up statement or anything.
Weird.
So Bloomberg did this piece that really blew over, and no one in the years since has come out and found evidence of this. And, like, if there was evidence of physical chips on servers somewhere, like, especially after a story like that came out, if it was real, it would have come up by now.
Yeah, for sure.
And Bloomberg just doesn't acknowledge it. And so one blog that I read regularly, anytime he cites, a Bloomberg article, he always has like a footnote every time that says, Bloomberg posted the big hack. They have refused to retract it. And until then, such and such. So
yeah, I think that's exactly what should happen for E3. I think that's exactly what should happen.
Like, never forget.
Yeah, exactly. Like, never forget that. But that's interesting. I did not know about that, huh?
They actually earlier this year put out semi follow-up, like a sequel, like a bad sequel.
Really?
That was again, not really corroborated and with sources that it's a mess over there. And then you also think Bloomberg, that's where Jason Schreier writes, and all these really great Nintendo leaks come out of. And then granted they're two separate departments and completely different authors with editors and things like that, but it's weird.
For sure.
Yeah. So why back to video editing really quick. I gotta know, Roger.
Yeah.
Why won't you use a Mac and just jump on this Final Cut train? I mean that in a slightly joking way, but a serious way too.
Yeah, no, and I feel like if I was not myself and I didn't know anything about if I was you, I would think the same thing, right? I'd be like, why don't you just go to Mac? Like it's fine. I've tried Mac for years. I've worked on every school that I've ever been to has had Macs. Every job, like full-time in person, like video editing place I've had Macs. Like, so I've worked with Macs for years in a professional sense, editing videos on Macs. And first of all, I'm a person that likes being able to tinker with things that I have. And it's not saying that I break apart my PC every week and like add things or remove things. I just like to be able to know that in my heart that I can like take out my graphics card and put in a new one or remove my motherboard if it goes bad or something. And that's why I have Android. I mean, I can't do that with my Android, but I like being able to do it with my OS at least.
It's not an option.
In my land. It's definitely not an option there. But that's not even the biggest deal breaker. The biggest deal breaker is just the I feel like I'm not getting a massive amount of price for performance. I think that it's just overpriced in my opinion in terms of like the amount of money I can put into a Mac in terms of the amount of money I can put into a PC. Exactly. For like the amount of money that I paid for this PC, I would not be able to get near the level of performance that I have for this PC over at Mac. I
am along that like line of thinking. I am curious. I don't know how closely you follow any of this, but their new M1 processors, they're switching from
the
Intel,
ARM ones, right?
Yeah, to their ARM processors. They call them M1, and they're switching their whole lineup here within the next year and a half. To their own processors, and like the performance out of these first laptops, which will be the slowest M1, ARM Mac chips ever, like smoke. Anything and everything. AMD, Intel, it's wild. And so I am curious how that will evolve, because right now the computers available are like a MacBook Air and a 13-inch MacBook Pro and a Mac Mini. Like, it's not the pro level hardware that people need on that capacity. I mean, the performance is great for those products in that space. I'm curious how that'll translate over time in general. I'm not saying that one day you'll wake up and they'll have like the M3 or whatever in a Mac Pro, and the scales will fall from your eyes and you'll see the light.
But I wouldn't be surprised if something.
I'm curious what that'll be.
Yeah, I think that's honestly like, if anything is coming out of this whole. I'm not like the biggest like person in terms of like knowing everything about these processors or anything like that, but I do watch a little bit of LinusTechTips. But it's interesting because I do love the idea of these companies going in and creating their own silicon. Like even Google is doing it. Like, I think
they just announced their next phone, I think, is going to have their own chip in it, right?
Yeah, which is I think great, honestly. Like, having like these competitors to Intel and AMD is always good. I think competition's good. So like I would love to see what Apple does. I think honestly like that could be a huge part of their next generation of like, I feel like ever since the passing of Steve Jobs, people have always been like, they haven't been original, they haven't been doing anything new. Like, I feel like them creating like their own silicone in-house is going to be able to is going to be
tomato.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think that's going to maybe push them to have some really good innovation in terms of like the performance and things like that. So I think it's interesting. It's something to look out to, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to create create something that was like the cutting edge and was comparatively affordable to the other things. But I mean, affordable and Apple don't really go in the same sentence, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
very few products that fall into that category
For sure. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of like the high tier performance, like like if I were to spend $3,000 on a PC comparatively to $3,000 on an Apple PC, maybe they might be comparable in the future. You never know. So yeah, it's interesting, and I'm always looking out for it. And I'm always we're my type of family, at least. We're like always the people that if Verizon were to knock on our door for like I don't know if you've ever had this, like where people like the Verizon people or like the cable people usually come around knocking on doors back in the day, and they'd be like, hey, we see you got Optimum, which is the local one around here. Well, what about Verizon? We can do half the price or whatever. And my dad would be like, deal, immediately. Like we're always like looking for the next best thing in this house, like whatever's cheapest, whatever is best. So I have that same mindset. So if Apple were to be like, hey, we're doing this, also we have, Steam and all these things are able to run everything perfectly. You can PC game as well pretty well. Like if they were able to have that ecosystem that I could be like, okay, like I don't feel like I'm missing out on PC stuff, then I would go over. But I think that's a while from now. So I'm sticking with my PC for now.
The Windows side of it, I'll briefly, Windows Microsoft just needs to release like they have an ARM version of Windows 10, but they don't have it like purchasable. You can only get it in that Surface X Pro computer, whichever one has the ARM chip in it. Like you can go out and buy Windows 10. I actually don't know if you can go buy it like in a store like you used to. But
Windows 10, yeah, you can. Yeah, I see
you can go in a store and buy. You can go to a store and buy a box that says Windows 10 on it.
Yeah,
and take
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, anyway, I always find this stuff interesting and how people do their work, and because I don't do nearly as cool work as you do, but I edit some videos, some training videos. training material for companies is not as entertaining, Roger, as the stuff you put out. There's not a lot of high energy in here's how you handle a dryer,
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's what you make out of it. You know what I mean? If you throw in, a 1% opacity image of Sam Fisher in there, you know what I mean? It's a good time for you then. Think about it. That's always been my the thing I've always had in the back of my head. Like I know that I could like just put something in at 1% opacity and no one will ever notice it, and I could just live my life and then just like go back to it and then just be like, hey, I did that 10 years later. You know what I mean? Like I could always do that, and I just think about it. And maybe one day, look up for kind of funny content. You know what I mean? You might see some Sam Fishers in the middle of a podcast one day.
I am always hounding you for Sam Fisher content.
Yeah, and I mean, I think honestly, we all are.
Why not use that as the perfect segue? Because, Roger,
yes,
you and I are part of a small community.
There's dozens of us
that remember the man Sam Fisher and the video game series Splinter Cell.
Yes.
Why? Why doesn't it exist? Why does no one love it? Why is he a character in Rainbow Six Siege
that doesn't look like him?
Doesn't look like him? Doesn't operate like him in any capacity? They just added 3 dots.
Yeah. No, it's frustrating at this point, and it's something that I'm friends with Yusuf McGee, who works at Ubisoft, and him and I have a running joke of just like, I remember the first time I met him, I was just like, it was right before E3, and I was just like, I'm going to make sure to text you when that Splinter Cell gets announced. That was like 5 years ago. So like every single year I just message him during an Ubisoft conference or something like that. I'm just like, well, next time we'll figure it out. But
in the reveal, I say this every year, the reveal, I have it all coordinated out. This is how it goes. The theater goes dark.
Yep.
The green comes up in the
boom, and
it just across the theater, and everyone loses their mind.
Yeah. So for me, I have a bunch of different options, right? Like I have a bunch of fan fiction. This is like the only thing on my mind. Like I don't do fan fiction. And like I know my girlfriend, she used to do Sonic fan fiction when she was a little kid. Like I did not do any of that. So, but I have adult fan fiction of Splinter Cell, where I have this idea that it's just going to be like a regular trailer or whatever of like some dude, whatever. He's wearing a ski mask, right? And he's like taking down people and then takes it off. It's not Sam Fisher. It's Michael B. Jordan, and he's the new Sam Fisher. And he's the new Sam Fisher. He's like the Batman Beyond he's like the Terry McGinnis to Sam Fisher.
So are you saying that Michael Ironside is in a cave somewhere?
Yes, basically. Yes, he's the man of the ear, and he's telling Michael B. Jordan how to do things, and that's my perfect.
That's how you have to do it. Oh my gosh, I've never thought of this.
Exactly, and that's the only way
to do it. He's too old
to
do the mocap.
Yep.
That's why they replaced him in Blacklist. Put him in a chair. He can sit in a chair and read.
Which is, first of all, the dumbest excuse ever.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't make any sense. It never makes sense.
First, Ubisoft can't animate women. Second, they can't get Michael Ironside to voice a character and have someone else be the actor.
It's ridiculous because they do it with every single animated movie or TV show now where they have like fight sequences. Like they have like the mocap for like Clone Wars, the newest season. They have mocap where they brought in Ray Fisher, another Fisher, who did Darth Maul originally, and they brought in another stunt woman, and they did like the actual choreographed fight, but then they animated it and they did the voices of the regular voice actors, like how you can do in animated things. But apparently they're like, nope, we gotta be so realistic with this. I'm like, all right, it doesn't really pan off, but sure. Yeah, no, say it's that's what I think. I think they need to do like this, the man in the chair thing, where he's just the guy in the ear, and then maybe we do a flashback mission halfway through. Like my idea would be to always have this be like start off as something very simple, like I don't know, like there's terrorists and there's bombs and there's, all these people steal oil or something. You know what I mean? Like something Splinter Cell-esque, and then it slowly starts to become like weirdly personal for Sam. And then you have like a flashback mission where it's like, oh, like he dealt with these people already, like when he was like 20 something, and then that was like
when they killed his daughter,
for the 5th time or whatever. But like, or maybe this could be like his like Captain Ahab moment, where like this is the thing that always got away. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then he has to let go and let Michael B. Jordan do it. And like that, I feel like there's just a lot of potential for a game like this, and just in general for stealth. Like stealth is kind of having a bit of a renaissance here and there, and I don't think it's a dead genre whatsoever. I mean, Hitman 3 made back its money in the first day of release. Like, Hitman formula of approach your target from any direction. Honestly, has been a part of Splinter Cell for years. Yeah, Blacklist did it really well too.
You can go into a mission in Blacklist and not like no enemy has to see or interact. Like you can go.
You don't need to kill them either.
Yeah, you can do a perfect playthrough of that game and never interact with another NPC unless there's some scripted moment I'm probably forgetting.
There's a bunch, yeah.
And or you can play that game totally conviction style and murder everybody.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
It's very frustrating because you and I, we see it. We see, we have the vision. They need to put us in the room, and it's upsetting. It's upsetting because I think that there's a lot of people that don't even like Splinter Cell, that aren't like big Splinter Cell fans, that can be brought into this franchise because of the success of a game like Hitman. And I think that there's a kind of a want for a big AAA single-player game now. I think that's like...
There's a lot of demand, I think, for that. Look at Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Huge single-player Star Wars IP. Great game. Most assuredly getting a sequel.
For sure.
Like, I think...
Imagine if they don't. They just don't. Like, 30 years go by, and we're just like, whatever happened to that game?
Where's Fallen Order 2?
I guess they don't like money, huh? It's weird.
I mean, Ubisoft definitely has a focus on live games. Honestly, I think all of the PS4, Xbox One generation, most Ubisoft games were launched rough and then over the years turned into something extremely popular. Look at Siege. Look at For Honor. That's that warrior game. I think even
The Crew.
The Crew. What was the other Ghost Protocol?
Ghost Recon.
Ghost Recon Wildlands had a renaissance, or what? What's the new one? Breakpoint.
Breakpoint. Okay, Wildlands was the one that people like. Breakpoint, one that sucks, right?
Right, I think so. I think that's how it panned out. And I don't know if Breakpoint is making it come. Division, look at Division, Division 2.
Division for sure.
That's kind of been the Ubisoft model. I think maybe outside of the Watch Dogs, which were predominantly single player open world games. And they just want to, and Assassin's Creed has had its kind of renaissance too, but again, single player, no multiplayer.
It's so interesting to me though, because it's like, in a world where we are constantly not doing original IPs in anything, and we always bring back things that are dead or semi-dead or just freshly dead, like Dexter's coming back again, like why? Sure, whatever, I guess. Like, why are you going to prioritize a game like even Beyond Two Souls, not Beyond Two Souls, Beyond Good and Evil? Beyond Good and Evil 2.
The monkey game.
Yeah, even though that game's like never coming out, but still, like that game is like has more of a
Joseph
like,
Gordon-Levitt's working very hard.
He's working very hard. He's hitting record and press and play in the background. You know him. But like even like okay, now I'm starting to say a bunch of games that are canceled, like Skull and Bones. Like that's a game that has like a ton
canceled?
It's like floating around.
Know
like it's not.
Yeah,
it's apparently
they're making a TV show for it too.
What?
Yeah, don't you remember that? They announced a TV show for Skull and Bones.
That's
just
so
like the
weird.
Sam Fisher Splinter Cell movie.
Oh, yeah, that's supposed to have Tom
Hardy. Which I can watch the trailer for
on
my GameCube copy of Chaos Theory.
Yeah, and wasn't it going to be George Clooney? I think that was the rumor.
I think so. I don't know, man.
That would have been so good. That would have been good, actually.
Rip.
Yeah, but it's just annoying to me that it's like it's they have this franchise right here that people are fond of. Like even if it isn't like the biggest like success, like it sold millions of copies in Blacklist. Like it was successful or at least noticeable to sell millions of copies. But they're taking weird risks on like Skull and Bones and like series that just didn't really work out, or just making things that like it's just weird that they wouldn't take this chance. And it seems like from rumors and like what people have said like here and there, because sometimes people ask about Splinter Cell, like one of the 12 people that are fans of it, like asking like Jeff Grubb's comments and things like that. And it seems like a Splinter Cell game has been in production multiple times over the years, but it just keeps on getting scrapped. And
yeah, like they just can't figure out what they want. But I actually think the Hitman exam style could work, because remember when Hitman 1 was actually episodic?
Yeah.
They totally could put Splinter Cell in, if they didn't do episodic where they released it chunk by chunk, they could definitely do DLC chunks later and just have a big map area with different approaches. I think, did you ever play the Sly Cooper games?
Yeah.
Like in Sly 2, like those open world hubs where you could kind of sneak around and approach, and you'd go into a linear level to do whatever you needed to do. But what if you removed that, go into a linear level, and like you just have this open space to play in, and approach, you've got to get to this spot or this room, and there's different approaches. Like I feel like they could do that. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what the cost,
of course,
because obviously it costs millions of dollars to make a game like that, and then how much are they going to get a return on that? And
and then how much is Michael B. Jordan going to take out of the pie? You know what I mean? He's greedy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He's going to want some money. I think more honestly, like the game that I would want is more in the vein of like a Metal Gear Solid 5. I think I would want like a true open world experience. If they were to do anything other than linear, because it's like, for me, it's like either or, right? Like I think that they should do straight linear, like here's level design, and of course like do it like Blacklist where you're able to like, but like I think that Blacklist is a lot more linear than a Hitman game for sure. And I think
it absolutely is,
and I think it works better for Splinter Cell because of course you're not dressing up as characters, you're not doing anything crazy like that. So it's like I think that it needs to be like kind of like that weird hybrid. Or it needs to be fully open world. And I think those are the only two ways in my mind that I would be really satisfied. I don't know. I mean, I'm satisfied, of course, if I see the three lights, right? Like I'm
Are you?
Yeah.
I mean, what is that mobile game he's in now?
No, but if I see, like, you know what I mean? If we do like the reveal, like you're saying like that, like I'm gonna be freaking out, crying and everything like that. Like that's easy.
Oh yeah, they could announce it. It'll be like. To me, it'll be like when they announced Paper Mario Origami King. I just saw Paper Mario and was like, it's back! And then it comes out, and I'm like, oh no.
It's the same thing for me with that new Breath of the Wild Dynasty Warriors game or whatever, Hyrule Warriors. I just see it, and I'm like, oh wow, it's okay, I'm good.
Yeah, it's...
yeah,
I miss him. I just bought Chaos Theory. It was on sale on 360. Or, Xbox One Series, whatever it's called now. Xbox Series X.
Microsoft Store.
There we go. Xbox Live Network.
Yeah, sure.
Finally about that, and I've just had an itch to go back. I still have my PS2 copies of the first game and Pandora Tomorrow. Now
Pandora
I've got
Tomorrow, man.
What a game!
What a game.
I recently found out there were like, I'm saying 7, but I could be totally wrong. But there are a ton of ports of Chaos Theory. Did you?
Yeah. There's a mobile version of it where it was like I played it. I used to play it on my dad's phone. He bought it for me.
The N-Gage?
Yeah, the N-Gage. Yeah.
They did it on 3DS?
No, they didn't. They did.
They did. It was a launch game.
No, Chaos Theory was not on 3DS. There's no way.
It was a port of Chaos Theory that had some Conviction elements in it.
No, it's the Splinter Cell 3D.
So 3D.
Okay. I thought
which
you meant
is like it is Chaos Theory, but
is
it has
really?
Conviction stuff. Yeah, that's like the basis of it.
Oh, I did not know it was. Isn't
that crazy?
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. Because I remember I would always see it, and I saw like they had like the weird. In order to add like the 3D element to it, they had in Conviction when things would just be on the wall, like in terms of like enter the bank or whatever. They added that into this game. So I always thought it was
such a
just
good style.
It is a really good style. But then for this game, for some reason, they have like the red and white like aesthetic. So then randomly, it seems like there's just a random letter in the middle that's just red. Like in
Thanks, 3DS.
It's just like, okay, cool. There was a ton of weird, and there was also the PSP Splinter Cell. Was it Black? Was it? It was like. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, but there's
something like that.
There's a bunch of weird ones, and it's just like, well, just give me one. Just give me something, right? Like, I'll take... Give me a PS Vita game before it closes up. Figure it out.
Rip. I've been freaking out about that stuff.
Essentials.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ugh, I miss Sam.
Yeah, I've been having the itch to go to Conviction recently, today, actually. So I think I might replay that. Might replay it, but then if I do that, then I'm like, then I should just round out and play Blacklist too, and then it just becomes like all a cycle. So maybe not. I've been playing a lot of old games recently. I have like all the games, like all the new games that have come out. I have them, but I just have been playing Kingdom Hearts for some reason, and like Splinter.
Which Kingdom Hearts?
Just the first one. I've never played any of them before. It's been a journey. It's been interesting.
If you continue with this journey, buckle up.
Oh boy, yeah, that's the thing.
It goes places.
I can imagine.
Seriously, on a serious note, I mean, if you play one, you finish one, you enjoy it. 2 is excellent. 2, I mean, this is fun gameplay, really tight design, I think, but the story I think is really rich. They do some really great stuff in the beginning of that game that really still sits super strong with me. So a 2's great, and then I'm partial to Birth by Sleep, which was the PSP prequel. Beyond that, you can skip some stuff. Yeah, Beyond.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what I hear from a lot of people. I'm just having fun with it as its own thing. It's dumb. Yeah. It's stupid. I'm having a great time with just how dumb and stupid it is.
You've got Goofy. You've got Sephiroth.
And I love I love how like just indulgent and weird it is. Like I just don't understand how it existed and was created, and I love it for that. Like I love like even like the little weird quirks that it has, like when you play the Coliseum fights, and then it's just like the music for way too long, and then just a weird zoom in on like whoever character did the most damage or whatever it is, and it's just Goofy doing the L thing. Yeah, it's just like, okay, whatever. It's just so stupid. Like it's a great game.
It's so PS2 era, and
it is.
They've never lost that charm. Like really, when you playing Kingdom Hearts 3, after waiting so long for that game, it really is a PS2 game at its core. Like it just has that heart.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, that kind of still holds up as like a spirit type thing. There's some gameplay design things from that era that we don't need anymore. But just like the heart of it. The heart of Kingdom Hearts has remained strong for all these years.
Yeah, and I just love the voice acting, and it's just great. It's
Haley. What is it? Haley Joel
Osment. Yeah, and it's a fun time, and I think that like I made the mistake of tweeting something like about Kingdom Hearts, and that was a whole mess. That was the whole thing. Alexa Ray tweeted back at me and was like, "You need to play these games," like very earnestly. And I was like, "Oh crap, oh crap. Okay, fine." And I did it, and I've been playing it, and I've been enjoying it. Like,
are you playing it on PC?
No, PlayStation.
They just came out on PC, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I was gonna play them on PC, but I didn't want to wait. I was like, I want something to play. My thing is that like I work I work at my PC all day, so then my PlayStation is like my relaxing time, and like I lay in my bed and I play. So like that's like so I've been playing it's almost like Whiplash. I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts, and then I go into The Sopranos. Watching a lot of Sopranos.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so I go from The Sopranos or to Kingdom Hearts and vice versa all the time. I've been also playing Mario 64 for the first time ever. And also going to The Sopranos after that, which is very funny. So like it's a lot of like weird like kids games that I go straight into The Sopranos, which is great.
Well, wasn't one of the first episodes of Sopranos they played Mario Kart 64?
Yes.
And possibly with one hand?
Yes. Yeah. I love a good. You know what I love? I love a good video game moment in TV, specifically TV.
Do you remember House of Cards? Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
Is that a PlayStation Vita?
I have all the games. I have all the games.
Call of Duty. Good. Or was it Call of Duty or God of War?
God of War Ascension. God of War Ascension.
Yes,
I remember this plotline
right.
because he just became vice president, and they were taking over his house, and they were screwing with the internet connection, and he couldn't play God of War Ascension. No, he couldn't play God of War Ascension. He turned it on, and then he couldn't go online, so then he turned it off.
To play the multiplayer.
Yeah.
I played that multiplayer. That was
good
good stuff.
Was it good?
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Interesting.
Good
looking game. Forgot about how it's a good looking game.
It was a very late PS3 game.
Yeah.
I went to the midnight launch. It actually launched the same night as like a StarCraft game, and so everyone was there for StarCraft, and I was there for God of War.
You're a real gamer right there. You know what I mean? They're all
Exactly.
trying to click their buttons, and you're just like, hey, I want to slice some dudes in half. I want to figure out where's Kratos been in the past.
I love Kratos back when he was just a hack and slash grunt yell man.
Nothing.
Now he's a nice father.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say nice, but he definitely is a father.
He's a father.
He's a father.
What a man! That's a great game. But this is probably maybe a month or two ago.
Sure.
I try to piece together what I am like a detective in the kind of funny community. Whenever I see you tweet about a game, I'm like, this is what the next blessing the show is going to be about.
So you're like one. You said a lot of people don't have too much time on their hands. I think you're one of those.
I have a lot of Twitter time on my hands. Okay, if you tweet something, Roger, and I see it, my brain starts going.
Sure.
But I don't dig deeper than that.
Yeah, fair.
You were playing Uncharted.
Yeah.
Roger, I love Uncharted.
Yes, I love Uncharted too.
Well, do you love Uncharted 2 or?
Oh yeah, I mean I love Uncharted 2, but also TOO. Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense that you would totally be on a busting episode. But I was actually playing it with my significant other. She's never played it before. It's funny because so she's like very specific about the game she plays. She plays like she's a big Animal Crossing fan.
Abby,
She plays. Yep. She has 1,000 hours plus in Animal Crossing. Like that's her.
Holy! I thought Abby's like at 450. I thought that was impressive. Nope. I'm gonna tell her after this. She's gonna be her jaw's gonna drop.
Yeah.
Did you get the cards, the Hello Kitty cards? Were you able to get those?
I was trying to very, very nicely. Belinda Garcia over at Sledgehammer Games, she messaged me after I couldn't get it, and she said, I got a few extra. I'm going to send them over for your girlfriend. Very sweet of her. Because they immediately sold out on my Target thing. I don't think they actually did. I think it's just the website glitched, and then people actually got it afterwards.
After like 45 minutes, to make a long story short, I thought, hey, I wonder if the Target in Indiana, where my mother lives, has it.
Smart,
and I was able to get it through in Indiana, and then I called my mom and said, I need a favor.
Hey, Ma, I know it's COVID times, but you need to pick up these fun little cards, these Hello Kitty cards for me.
She was like, hey, am I going to get like jumped leaving the store? Are these cards like valuable? I'm like, no one should jump you for Hello Kitty, but just please pick these up.
If they do, that'd be interesting. You know what I mean? That's a good Twitter thread.
I would feel so terrible.
Yeah, of course.
But then Abby finally used them. But anyway,
it's good.
Uncharted.
Yes. Yeah, so my girlfriend, she's very specific about the game she plays. Right? 1,000 hours on Uncharted. She's been playing the Harvest Moon game, or whatever, the Story of Seasons, I think it's called. It's basically Harvest Moon. But she also, her and I have been playing a lot of Fortnite recently. That's what we were just playing before this. So very specific about the game she plays. And for some reason, when she was younger, she was really obsessed with I'm going to say younger loosely, like 17, 16. She was obsessed with the Tomb Raider games, the new ones. But she never played them. She would only watch them, and she had no idea about Uncharted. So she was watching these Tomb Raider games, being like, "This is the pinnacle of action video games." She had no idea.
And you were like, "Hold up a minute."
Yeah, exactly. She was obsessed with these games. It was so weird too, because she would talk about it a lot early on in the relationship. I was like, "Really? Like these are the games that you like?" She's like, "Yeah, it's so crazy." And then we played Uncharted. Uncharted 1 was a rough time. Like, it's a rough time.
Uncharted 1 is rough.
It might be a bad game. It might be a bad video game. I go back and forth on it.
Today, if you're playing it for the first time today, it's really tough because it's all in one location. Some of it's a little stiff. Yeah. But when you look at it in the context of when it came out, this game's revolutionary. And so I always go back and forth with that. And then also I'm biased because it's the second PS3 game I ever played. It was the first one I played on the PS3 that I got for Christmas. I played it all in one sitting on my CRT. I didn't even play it in HD. Like I was like, look at these scan lines on Nathan Drake. That was the day after Christmas. Is one of the best Christmases ever. The first one was Metal Gear Solid 4, and I borrowed a buddy's PlayStation while he was out of town on vacation and played that in a week.
You finished that game too in a week?
Dude, when I was a child, I had so much time.
I mean, yeah, we all did. I would just spend that time playing Modern Warfare for like 32 days. Like,
yeah, that's what he used his PS3 for most of the time.
Yeah,
I was like, I want to play.
Oh, man, a taste.
Yes, let me learn about the Lale Lulelo and nano machines. Uncharted 1 is difficult to go to if it's your first time.
It is, and it's tough to, as someone, she didn't play the game either. Like, she's watching it. Yeah, she was watching it, and that's a tough one to just be like, hey, these are characters that I care about. She's like, I don't understand why anyone. And it took us a long time to get. And we only see each other once a week, so like we would spend the one time a week that we see each other playing Uncharted, and for like a good 2 weeks until we were able to finish it. She was like, I don't understand why people like this game.
She's like, how is this better than Tomb Raider?
Yeah, exactly, right? The pinnacle of gaming, Tomb Raider. And I was like, I don't know. But then we finally got to 2, and then she sort of got it. And then 3 was a moment. Yes. 3 was a moment for her, and everything about that game just hit on a different level. And then we just finished 4 last weekend, and it was something. It was beautiful just to see her face when Sam came out of nowhere, and she was like, "Wait, we have a brother?" And like all these moments that I knew, and like it's so funny replaying these games because the moments for me that stood out in Uncharted 4 specifically were moments that were so understated that I totally thought they were bigger moments. Like there's so many explosions and people dying and things happening in this game, and the things that stood out to me was towards the end of the game when spoilers I guess for Uncharted 4 when you're with
people
Elena
at that time.
Yeah, people at that time. When you're with Elena and you're going to the I guess Avery's house and you go and you fall into the water. And it was like, I think before you fall in the water, like some ground falls or whatever, as Uncharted games happen, the ground falls, you all slide
unstable
into the water.
Footing.
Yeah, exactly. They fall into the water, and Nathan's like, "Hey, are you okay, Elena?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And she's like, "How are you?" He's like, "I'm a little hungry." And like that moment for me, like always stood in my mind, and I think it was just such a pure moment, but it was also like, oh yeah, that's true. They would be very hungry. Like I don't know, like that's the moment that always stood out to me, and I always thought it was a bigger moment, and to the point where I was like, "You watch, look at this moment, look what happens."
You're like tapping her arm and being like, "Look, he's hungry, he's hungry."
I was like, "Oh wait, that's not." Also, I ruined the moment because I pressed the grenade button. So I threw a grenade in the water in the middle of him saying he's hungry, so that she completely lost what he was saying. I was like, oh, sorry. But yeah, no.
So you reloaded his save from 2 hours prior, and you're like, come on.
We're gonna get the hungry moment. Yeah, no. So that for me, those were the moments that and like the when they're going on the elevator and they're looking out and like the very understated moments in like this big action massive game.
Everyone, I feel like a lot of people I talk to, actually Cam, we just talked about this on the episode I recorded with him, and he was talking about how there was he felt there was a lot of that later game that could have been cut, and I'm just thinking no that way. Is the game right there. Yeah. I was dragged by a caravan in Madagascar to get to this.
Yeah, that's where the game gets really good. Like
all of the stuff on Libertalia is what I'm here for. Like this is why I'm here.
Yeah, Libertalia is, and it's also, I think it's the best Uncharted story for not the characters at all, like for like the story of the thing that they're discovering. Like the idea of like the pirates fighting each other and then seeing like
the whole backstory and how it mirrors what Nathan is going through with Sam, and it honestly
a little too on the nose at the ending for my taste, but it's fun.
It's definitely like this has happened before, you know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Come on, this is what you're doing now, but it just feels so rich and dynamic. We actually, no joke, we just started playing Uncharted 4, so I thought. So she's like, obviously she's aware of my love of Uncharted because I don't shut up about it.
Yeah.
But she's never sat down and watched them. She's done The Last of Us and Part 2. She was actually a wonderful trooper when Part 2 came out. I was fortunate enough to get the game a few days early.
Oh my gosh!
Thanks to a local mom and pop shop who. This is my kind of double standard. So a local store typically does sell new games early. Yeah. And I see them posted on Facebook, and the rule follower in me is like, they can't do that. That's against the rules. Brah. But then one day, I'm over here playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 remake campaign, and I see that they have SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom early. I'm like, I want that game. Yeah. I'll go get it. And I walk into the store, and on the shelf is The Last of Us. And I go, are you selling that too? And they said, yep. And I called my wife and said, I know I already have 2 copies of this game pre-ordered and the PS4, but can I buy it early?
Oh my God.
And
I would
God bless her, she said yes.
I did a similar thing for Alex O'Neill. It was his birthday, and Persona 5, the first of Persona 5. There's many Persona, but the first time was actually coming out on PS3. It was our PS4. It was a PS4 game.
It was
right?
a dual launch on 3 and 4.
So I guess I got it from on PS4. But his birthday was right before the launch of the game, like 3 or 4 days before the launch of the game, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to find him an early copy of this game. And I called every single mom and pop place in Maryland. And I asked, do you have Persona 5? And then this one guy was like, yep, we have Persona 5. It's like, can I reserve a copy right now? And he's like, yep. I said, my name is Alex or whatever. And and then he went there, and apparently the guys were very sus. We're like, who sent you? You weren't the guy on the phone. It was very sus, but he got the copy. Yeah, that's always fun. I feel like I wish I had more mom and grop pop shops. I'm ruined because it's kind of funny. I just say mom and grop pop shops.
It kills you.
Yeah.
So when the game came out, obviously, I was also. It's weird to say this, but I was fortunately furloughed at the time, so I didn't have anything to do.
Fortunately,
right? Like in hindsight, it actually really worked out well for me as far as my job and things. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to, have been in that situation.
Sure.
But to not have work when The Last of Us Part 2 came out was incredible. It was like a summer vacation I'll never get again.
Yeah.
And so I literally blankets over the blinds to block out all light. I mean, I played in darkness, and she sat there and watched the whole thing. She was a trooper. Incredibly thankful. And then she did not have to sit there the next 2 times I played the game.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, back to Uncharted. I decided to just start with 4, and I realized she's not going to get all of like the subtext and character relationships and things, but I just felt knowing her and like what she would be willing to sit through, like 4 has the bombastic action and
It does.
and everything, and the relationships and the development and stuff. And like when we just started, we actually just got to Italy to do the first heist for the cross.
For the Christ.
The Christ. This is not a crucifix. It's funny, actually.
Not.
They're talking about what is his name? Is Saint
Dismas.
Yeah. The penitent thief. Yeah. And then Easter happened, and they mentioned the thieves at church.
And you're like, that's from Uncharted.
I was like, I touched her. I'm like, that's Uncharted.
She's like, shut up.
She rolled her eyes so hard, Roger. It was awesome. I just thought that would be a really good place for us to start that.
Sure.
And if she wanted to go back at 2 and 3, or honestly, Lost Legacy, are you going to play that next?
I haven't played Lost Legacy ever, so I think I might.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it, I should say. I played the intro part of it, and I just never played. It was, for some reason, I was just like, I want video games, and then I bought. It was right when the game came out, and the Target had like those buy 2 get 1 free things. So I bought that game. I was gonna say Five Nights at Freddy's. The Jason game. What's like a
Friday the 13th.
It's Friday the 13th. Jesus, this is how corrupted my brain is. I just said Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's for
Friday. Yeah, I mean, I guess
sure,
it works.
The same.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and then I forgot what the other one was, but it was also it was also Horizon Zero Dawn. I played none of those games. I don't like. I played the first hour of Horizon Zero Dawn, didn't like it. Played the first hour of The Lost Legacy, never went back to it. Played literally maybe 20 minutes of Friday the 13th, never played it again. So it was a pretty big L on my side of it. But yeah.
I've had my fair share of buy 2 get 1.
Yeah,
L's.
It's just a good deal. You know what I mean? You feel like you need it, but then you don't.
I think I did that for Doom 2016.
It's a solid one.
No, not Doom 2016. No, what was it? I definitely South Park.
Sure.
Wolfenstein. It was Wolfenstein.
Which South Park though? First one or second?
Fractured Butthole, which honestly is probably one of the best game titles ever.
Yeah, it is. I never finished that one. I
never played it. Never played it.
It's good. You played the first one?
Never played it. Nope.
Oh, okay,
and it came with it.
Oh, okay. Maybe you should play the first one. The first one's a good time.
I just never played them. See, yeah. I've had my fair share. But seriously, you're in for a treat for Lost Legacy.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I replayed all of them last year, and I platted it. Actually, I platted that. That was the first time platting that game.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I don't know. I mean, I'm going to try to play it with my girlfriend Leanza. That's her name. Mm-hmm. With Leanza, but the issue is that I don't think she has a lot of goodwill towards Nadine at all. She was bad mouthing her the entire game, very negative towards this character as just being there. And then also she was very not negative, but she didn't really care about Chloe like as much. She was like, oh, she's like good looking, but like she didn't really care. So
you come to her and you're like, hey, what if we put these two people in a game?
Yeah, it's gonna be your favorite game ever. So it's like I think I'm gonna try it out, and I think she's probably gonna end up liking it, but it's still like I think it's gonna be a little bit of an uphill battle because she did not care about Nadine, which is fine. She's the bad guy.
She's one of them. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a moment.
Yeah.
And if you don't want me to spoil this, I won't. So you tell me now. It's not a big moment. Okay, then I won't.
Okay. But there's something
when you're done with it.
Yeah.
If you follow up with me, I'll tell you about it. It's great. It's good stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. And I always forget that I have this game, so I'm excited to try it out. And
it's a lot. It is a lot shorter. It is Uncharted 1 kind of length the first time through. It's just a good
Uncharted 1 felt like 30 hours, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, sorry. To me it's a 7 to 8 hour game.
Oh, that's solid. That's good.
Yeah, it's really tight, I think, in that direction, and there's really strong moments, and it's fun.
Yeah,
it's Uncharted.
I'm excited for that, and I think that Uncharted 4 was a great time. Like everyone liked it. Leanza liked it a lot. We did have a little bit of a different opinion on the ending. She was not that she didn't like it, but she was like she felt like they showed too much of like the kid, and like she just like didn't feel any like she cared a lot about these characters that she spent 4 games with. And including Sam, which we spent like 15 hours with or whatever. Yeah. So then she cared about those characters, but then she felt like, oh, like I don't care about this kid and everything. I think I've gotten her around to it because I was like, yeah, but like this is like all about like instead of just showing you everything, Uncharted is, instead of showing you like what happened to them or whatever, like you're playing through this point of view.
You're playing,
yeah,
and maybe part of that is because you were the one playing it and she wasn't.
Yeah, I think that's
partial.
And
I do also think, particularly just that ending hits harder for people that have. It almost sounds unfair to say it's like I was here first, like I've known these people longer, but I do think there's an element of time. Like in the beginning of the game, you're in Nate and Elena's house, and if you go in the bedroom, you can look through their wedding album.
Yeah,
and like that hits me every time. I'm
yeah.
like, this is a moment I wasn't there for that. Obviously, they're video game people. Like I'm not going to the wedding, but it it hits, and so being able to play as their daughter, it's one of the things. It's really the reason I like Naughty Dog the most is because they put those moments on the controller and in your hand instead of just showing you. Because they could have shown a cutscene or a montage of like Nate's now an official explorer and has magazines and all this stuff,
or the intro of Last of Us 1. Like that could have just been a cutscene. Like the fact that you play
absolutely could have
adds so much to it. And that it's very true. And I think that for me, I had a lot of. I mean, I was very emotional when I finished that Uncharted 4 for the first time.
Yeah.
But I also had a lot of mixed feelings about the way that they. I mean, they clearly marketed it in a way that you thought people are going to die, and no one dies. Like,
are you telling me a game called Thief's End doesn't involve death?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, like, but then the more I think about it, the more I think it's just a perfect ending for me. Like, I think it's like this is all about storybook, like basically like movie tropes, kind of, and. The fact that it doesn't end, it doesn't become like a depressing game like Last of Us 2. It has that storybook ending, which I really appreciated that they stuck their guns to. The fact that the studio that made Last of Us was able to be like, okay, we know that what this game is, we're going to continue with it, and we're going to be very truthful to it, and I really appreciated that, honestly.
Yeah, and they gotta tell their story their way.
Sure. Yeah.
You still have one more game, though, that you could play. That's Uncharted related.
Oh. What's that game? Golden Abyss. I mean, I got two, I guess. I got the card game,
that
too.
And Lost Legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I had my
the
time.
card game... Yeah.
My time is ticking, though.
The day that the store's going to close.
I do have the game. Oh, I have the game. I own the game.
See?
Okay.
You two cuddle up for the Vita?
Cuddle up, and then she's gonna have to squint her eyes the
when
entire
you
time.
have to when you have to dust artifacts, and stuff.
Yeah,
she could touch the screen and rub off some dirt, and there you go.
I'm gonna break out a PlayStation TV. You know what I mean? Like,
do you have one?
No, but I'm sure I can get one for $10.
You cannot,
really?
Roger. They're expensive.
What? I remember they were selling them for like $10 after a while.
There was a clearance, just black. Roger, they go for over $150.
Are you serious?
I just got one in like January because I traded in some stuff.
I'm looking at
wild.
it now.
It is. Oh, it's too bad.
Oh my God!
I'm even more glad that I have one now because the store is closing and stuff. And so I hacked it. I had a buddy help me.
Call the police.
Homebrew. Call it.
Uh-oh.
He hooked me up because there's, if you can imagine, the community surrounding Persona is rather intense.
Sure.
And so people have come together and they've made like a HD patch for Persona 4 Golden. And so he helped me put that on my Vita, and I knew Golden Abyss is one of the games you can't play on the Vita TV officially because it actually requires motion controls and some touch stuff. But the Vita TV actually added support for the DualShock 4, so all the touch stuff is done on the touchpad.
Oh, that is cool.
But no motion control support, even though there's a motion in the DualSense. So if you can put basically a patch in the system through Homebrew that recognizes the motion in the DualShock 4.
Wow, that is really cool, actually.
And then you can play the game. So I can play Golden Abyss all the way through on the TV as they intended. No one intended it to be played this way. Doesn't it suck? Because you're like... And now I feel like there's this added pressure of the stores closing. Maybe you don't feel this, but
I do, because I'm the person that bought. I said I wasn't going to buy it. All Stars, 3D All Stars, and I bought it. I checked at midnight, and it was still there. So I was like, all right, I gotta buy it now.
got it.
You know what I mean?
I got it. Exactly.
Yeah. So like, I'm very easy to be swindled through FOMO very easily. So I mean,
earlier this year, I was like, I have a feeling they're going to close this stuff down soon. It just doesn't feel right, and I upgraded my PS3 hard drive to 500 gigs, and I just went on a download spree, and then I got this TV thing, and then yesterday, I figured, or it was yesterday maybe, or Monday, I figured out how to use an external hard drive on the Vita TV because those proprietary memory cards suck.
Oh, they still use that on the PS TV?
Yes, Roger, it's so bad.
Well, at least you have the homebrew. Now you're an illegal boy. You know what I mean? You're out here breaking things.
I'm just trying to upgrade the capability. I'm not out here cheating. I'm not out here, playing Killzone Mercenary online, auto sniping people. I don't even know if that game has online. I don't think it does. Man, what a console.
What a console. What a time period.
Remember they had a 3G model?
Yeah, I mean, how could I forget, right? The AT&T 3G model. It's
exclusive.
I was like looking through my old stuff and I was like, do I just sell this? Like I don't use it.
Never.
Like I'm not
never.
But I wasn't like that big of a Vita guy. I think I bought it because I was peer pressured by Greg Miller and everyone on Podcast Beyond to buy it.
You should hold that against him.
Yeah, I mean,
like, Greg, this is your fault.
Yeah, this is your fault. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do with it? So it's like I haven't really used it. I have Blackgate Origins, Origins Blackgate or whatever, which is just awful. It's just an awful video game, and it just makes me angry every time I played it as a kid because I was youngish. But it should have worked fine. You know what I mean? It should be like, oh, Batman on my Vita, wow. But like, it didn't have the ground pound or anything like that. Like, you couldn't press R and Y to take someone down. You just have to punch them a bunch. Like, it was just super simple, and I was just maybe angry, honestly.
You were like, why is this not like Arkham City?
Yeah, exactly. Why? Like, it's so wild that they couldn't even add the combat of Arkham City. Like, it's just so basic. It's don't even get me started. And it's on PS4 for some reason. Come on, guys.
It's on the Wii U. We talked about this earlier tonight. Yeah. It was on the Wii U, the best system. And someday they're going to shut the Wii U store off too.
Yeah, well, you got to start buying things right now.
I'm Roger. I sat Abby down tonight with a spreadsheet and said, "These are the games on PS3 and Vita I need to buy. Can we afford this?"
And she's like, I don't think we can afford $50,000 of video games, period.
She said, why is there a Ratchet and Clank game called Quest for Booty? I'm like, it's digital only. We have to get it. I'm like, it's a pirate game. She's like, but it's called Quest for Booty. I'm like, they're all cheeky titles. Up your arsenal. Going cheeky. Commando. Size matters. Come on. It's Ratchet.
It's Ratchet. What's the new
Apart.
one?
Rift Apart.
Yeah, Rift Apart.
Well, Into the Nexus. They kind of cleaned it up later.
Yeah,
Tools of Destruction.
That's a good name. I like that name.
Tools of Destruction's good. So I think that'll do it. I don't want to hold you up anymore, but thank you so much, Roger, for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. This has been a real treat. I haven't podcasted in a while like this, so this is a great time. Thank you.
You work at a company that has 50 podcasts.
I know, right? It's just yeah. I mean, but too many people listen to them. You know what I mean? All these people listen to XCast and things like. If I go on there and I say anything wrong about an Xbox thing, I will be murdered. You know what I mean? So it's so much pressure over there. It's
you gotta let that go.
The only podcast that I don't have pressure on ever is the Next Gen podcast, which you all should listen to. It's great. It's just garbage. It's just Barrett, Blessing, and Joey joined our last episode. We're just ranking cereals and going crazy, and 100 people listen to it, so it's great.
We did back in the day. I did a podcast with Logan, Michael Ruiz, and Mario Rivera, and we did cereal mascot battle royale.
Oof,
that was fun.
Who won?
It was a good time.
Spoilers.
If I get this wrong, they're going to come after me.
Uh-oh.
But they have to listen this far to find out.
Which they won't.
I think Captain Crunch won.
That makes sense. I mean, he's a captain, right? He's not a general, but it's a captain.
Did not vote. I don't think I voted for him, but I think Captain Crunch won.
Who would you go against? Captain Crunch.
I feel like if I was choosing a cereal mascot, I probably would have chosen Tony the Tiger, probably.
Yeah, sure. Or maybe Snap Crackle Punch or Pop, whatever their names are.
Or the Honey Smacks Frog.
See, that's the thing. That Blessing in the last episode, he said that he doesn't believe that Honey Smacks is a real cereal.
It's real.
He's never eaten it, never seen it. He feels like it's a fake thing that you'd see in the background of Malcolm in the Middle, which I kind of agree with.
I ate it as a child, so it's real for sure.
You're real. You're not real. according to Blessing.
I'm
You're
a
a fake person.
individual. What do you want to plug away, my friend?
Sure. The Twitter.
Sure.
At Raj Former on Twitter. You can follow me there. But mostly watch Party Mode on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames every week, Monday, I believe at 9 a.m. PST. That goes up. You can also watch The Blessing Show, which goes up every other Thursday, rather. So the next episode is going to be the 15th of April, so watch that over at Kind of Funny Games as well. It's the season finale. I was
about to say, Roger.
Yeah, we're canceling it already. I'm out of the company of the Blessing Show, and it's a real big doozy. And I will say, it's everything you could have dreamed of and more. So look out for that.
Dream.
No,
Splinter
more.
Cell?
More. Yeah, Splinter Cell. It's a Splinter Cell episode. Don't worry about it.
I want to second the Blessing Show. Awesome stuff. Really, I love the editing mostly because I know it's you, and I just I get your hue again. What we talked about at the top, your style comes through it, and I enjoyed a lot. And Blessing, super smart guy, knows what he's talking about, gets into it, has interesting points and ideas, and then sometimes I don't agree with him, but then I just keep that to myself and go,
Sure.
You're still a cool guy, Blessing.
See, when you said super smart guy, I thought you said super short guy, and I was like, wow, we're going somewhere with this. Wow.
I met Blessing, I think, at PAX East, all too briefly, just kind of I think Alex O'Neill was there, it's kind of the Rational Passions people, and I think Blessing kind of was there. I was like, hi. Bye, because I had to go.
Was he short?
Probably. I don't remember. I don't think he's short. I don't know.
You know, Blessing gives me short guy energy, even though I know he isn't probably. I think he's my height. He's 5'9"-ish, but 5'10". But
so then we're all three of us about the same height.
Yeah, but I feel in my heart that he's a little shorter. You know what I mean? I don't know. If you're listening to this right now, tweet. Never mind. I was gonna say tweet at Blessing saying he's short, but that's a crazy thing to tell someone to tweet to.
Well, if any of that, just follow his mentions. If it happens, it happens.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
Thank you, Roger, for joining me. You can check out the writing over at maxfrequency.net. You're already listening to the podcast, so you know to subscribe and stuff there. And you can follow me on Twitter at maxroberts143. And until next time, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Where was I going with this? You use Premiere and After Effects to create your videos. I'm going to edit this out because I really don't remember where this train was going.